All right, we are live.
Hello.
Special guest Luna,
Special guest Luna today.
and she's back here.
So,
I don't know if you guys can see him on Facebook.
if it's your first time tuning in, I'm Jason.
My name is Hannah. This is the Seed to Strength
Yeah,
podcast.
sorry, I was eating an orange. Yes, so
Starting with nutrition.
welcome to the podcast. Yeah, we just jumped off of the other podcast, our homesteading one. So if you haven't checked that out, Seed to Sprout Homestead and Health. You can look up that channel on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, pretty much all the socials
Everything.
except Twitter or X or whatever it's called now. Pretty much. But yeah, so we're gonna kind of dive right in. We weren't here last week. Hannah wasn't feeling well, so we just decided to skip the podcast last week, and then next week we might not do a Sunday podcast because it's going to be kind of a hectic day. But it's the holidays, so we might try to shoot for a Monday podcast instead. So,
Yeah.
because I'll be off from work and all that stuff.
So we'll fit it in somewhere. But we're starting the conversation with more controversial diet. We just finished up our homestead chat, and we were talking a little bit about the ketogenic diet and just controversial overall. So anybody that is tuning in at any point, we are willing to do Q&A. So
yeah, pitch in.
if you don't know our background, if this is your first time joining us, I have a background with the National Academy of Sports Medicine. I have a background as a fitness trainer. We can talk more about that in a little bit. In fact, I think that was something that I wanted to talk about today a little bit, was more about the National Academy of Sports Medicine. If you're looking at a career in being a trainer. But for now, we're kind of starting more with the controversial keto.
Yeah, the ketogenic diet, and if you don't know what the ketogenic diet is, it's basically where so your body generally is going to run on carbohydrates, and those carbohydrates and like glucose, they are burned the same way, essentially, right? And when your body, sometimes people's bodies just don't react well, especially if you have epilepsy. It's ketogenic diet has been studied for the last 100 years or so on people that like have epilepsy, and also none of the treatments work for them. So they try like a ketogenic diet. A lot of the research is done in children and in mice models and things like that. And we talked a little bit on the last podcast about how there's crossover between that. So I'll just throw that out there real quick in case you didn't see the Seed to Sprout podcast. Basically, there's a study where they took fecal matter from children that had epilepsy that were on a ketogenic diet, and then children that had epilepsy that were not on a ketogenic diet. They did a fecal transplant into mice that were also epileptic, and the kids' fecal matter that was transferred into the mice that were on the ketogenic diet, the mice, their seizures went into remission, but then the kids that were not on the ketogenic diet and their fecal matter got transferred to the epileptic mice, those mice still continued to have seizures.
Yeah, no change.
So that's just so your body will, if it cannot efficiently burn carbs or glucose, then you can train it essentially to use ketones for energy,
Which is extremely efficient.
Yeah, exactly.
So
And
it ends up being more efficient than glycolysis.
And is it only efficient? Is it only extremely efficient for people that cannot handle the carbs?
I mean, scientifically speaking,
for everybody.
I mean, and I can't say for everybody, because there's disruptions in my system when it comes to using carbs for fuel, whereas a normal person can burn carbs for fuel without any problem. So maybe someone has a separate issue in which ketones are harder to build in the body.
Yeah.
So I would say that broadly speaking, when it comes to a comparison between glycolysis and ketosis and which one builds ATP more efficiently, it would be the use of ketones. Scientifically speaking, it's just a longer process, which is where you get your keto flu when you're in transition.
And ATP, for those that don't know, is adenosine triphosphate, and it's essentially what your body uses as a fuel source.
Absolutely.
So we made this distinction before, and that's why it's controversial because, and it really shouldn't be controversial. People just sometimes don't know how to, like, how to not see in black and white. So we're not saying like ketogenic is great for everybody or ketogenic doesn't work for anybody, because that's a lot of times that's what people see when you try to like explain like, no,
This is bad.
This works.
This is not bad.
yeah, but it's just like, well, this works for me. And like, you know, it's like when you're a child it's forgivable because it's like, well, you see the world in black and white, but when you're an adult you should start to really like start to understand that no, there's nuances to everything. Nothing is inherently
Absolutely.
good or inherently bad. It's just this works or this doesn't work. Carrots are really good for you. Apples are really good for you. I can't have either of them because they mess my stomach up.
And neither can I.
And you can't have either. Well, I mean, if you can, well, I don't know about
those were two that really screwed up my stomach when I was eating carbs.
Yeah, and even now, like you were able to handle baked apples.
Oh,
But-
and cooked carrots. If they were cooked,
Yeah.
then it was fine.
And but even now with the ketogenic diet, I don't think that you can have even baked apples because it is a
It's
high
too high.
glycemic
Yeah, it's
or at
I-
least moderate.
well, and see, there's a different variation of the keto diet that works for each person, and I have not tried to play with mine that much, simply for the fact that it's more dangerous if I mess with mine, because
Yeah.
my reason for being on a ketogenic diet is because I was having seizures, and it was like, it was waiting months. I was going to have to wait for months before I had professional help, before they were going to be able to test medications on me, before they were going to be able to study. Like, these were happening starting in July, and I didn't have a sleep study scheduled until November.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was getting increasingly worse, and there was nothing that anybody could do. I'd been in the ER a couple of times, got to ride in the Wii U wagon once, and like those feelings, it's like I remember being in the ambulance. I remember there being, gosh, there was a lot of people in our house.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
the
there was, like-
paramedics, the firemen,
God, it was like 8 different people.
at the very least, and I had just had one of the scariest seizures. I think that might have been the worst one that I'd had the entire time that I was having seizures. And I was just face down on the floor. I was considering that was it. It was cycling. It was happening more than once, so I was just kind of stuck in a cycle of seizures, and they weren't ending. And these were the first like full convulsive tonic-clonic style seizures that I'd had at this point. Like, this was still very brand new, and I was home alone at the time, so it was just it was scary for a lot of reasons. But not being able to talk, I remember looking up from the floor and I couldn't speak. I had no speech mechanism. All I could do was follow people with my eyes. And that was like all I had control of until it slowly started to come back. I was able to talk to the paramedics halfway to the hospital.
Yeah.
Like that was when I finally was able to speak, and they told me, they're like, this is very normal. You are in like a pretty hefty post-ictal state. And then I had another, like, what I called an aftershock, because I would just have like these like smaller seizures that would happen after the
Yeah.
big ones. They were able to witness that. They were able to relay that information to the doctors. So I mean, they took me more seriously that first time around. But then like other times I wasn't being taken seriously as much because the seizures weren't completely conventional, but they also didn't fit non-epileptic seizure activity
Yeah.
either. So the neurologist like fully believed that it was seizure activity. We just didn't have any confirmation from EEG, and that was going to be scheduled in November. And having to go through what I was going through every single day, I had to do something. I couldn't wait until November.
And an
You know?
EEG, for those that don't know, is like where they hook up your brain to all kinds of these electrodes and stuff so they can monitor brain activity, so they can see if there's any abnormal brain activity when you're having seizures. So you're basically, like they call it a study because you're actually being studied. You're being monitored. You're being hooked up to this stuff for about a week, and then they just, they monitor you and they see like, okay, well, what might be triggering the seizures?
And what area of your brain is causing them, because for the most part, seizures are going to be focal. They're going to start in one area and then spread to the rest of the brain. And there's different treatments depending on what kind of seizures you have. And sometimes an EEG won't be able to pick up like certain seizures if it's like deep in your hypothalamus or if it's in the frontal lobe, because frontal lobe seizures are very distinct. They're very emotional. Sometimes you'll just like come out crying, fighting. A lot of those are the ones that happen in your sleep, and they're like violent and thrashy like.
Yeah.
But I don't think any of mine originated there. I
Well,
think
it's crazy because, so like, for the people that don't actually think that food is medicine, it's just like, well, you're living, breathing proof that it is. And a lot of times, people don't think because something isn't affecting them right away, they're like, okay, it's fine. Like they're not thinking in the long term. They're more thinking of, well, this isn't affecting me right now, so why should I care? And you hear that a lot, honestly, when it's just like, well, why don't you eat fast food? And it's just like, well, because it's poison, and I'd rather like add, life to my years than years to my life and be miserable. And they're like, oh, well, I'd rather just be, like I'd rather just live my life and be happy. It's like, yeah, you're living your life, and you're like, but like, how happy can you be? I don't know. There's a lot to unpack there. One is like, how happy can you possibly be when you're just consistently feeling horrible, and then the you end up getting sicker more often, you know,
I
because of that as well.
I understand it in a way, because so this is part of the cycle, right? Is like the food is feeding the illness, but the illness is killing your motivation. It's killing your ability to think clearly. So the attachment that you have is to the food itself, and it's scary to think about not having that comfort, because like when you don't feel very good, the
That's what you
food the
go.
food is a comfort and you're drawn to that comfort. And
Yeah.
see, I had a really healthy diet prior to going keto. So it wasn't that I wasn't eating healthy and then just randomly started eating healthy. I was eating really healthy, and the one thing that I was very attached to and that I was afraid I wasn't going to let go of was popcorn, because it was the thing that I was comfortable eating when I had stomach issues, when I wasn't feeling well. It was a sensory thing. So I was very attached to eating popcorn. I did it like every single day. And the thought of going keto actually scared me for that reason. Like that was one of the huge reasons. I was like, man, life isn't going to feel the same. It felt so big. It felt like literally life isn't going to feel the same if I can't have popcorn every day. And I was right. Life doesn't feel the same.
In
But
a
when I
good
think about
way.
popcorn, I think about the fact that I was forced to be in bed eating it. And I'm not in bed anymore.
Yeah.
I don't need to be in bed eating popcorn every day, so I don't miss it, because it makes me think about the times that I couldn't get out of bed.
Well, it's the same thing, like to a lesser degree, because yours is more like mine's more about discomfort, and yours is more about longevity and like, you know, like battling like chronic illness and epilepsy and things like that. Um, and it's the same thing on a smaller scale, I guess, with like me and carrots and apples. Like I love carrots, I love apples. I would down like a bunch of carrots, and they're really good for you. Apples the same thing. And then like I see them now, and I'm just like, man, and peanut butter too, man. I would dip my carrots in the peanut butter, and like cheese has been like I've developed some kind of sensitivity to lactose, so like I would drink a lot of milk, I would eat a lot of cheese, and I can't do that anymore. I eat,
Beans.
like, goat cheese is fine, and then yeah, like legumes except for peas are fine, but like beans kind of mess me up. Um, and then the carrots and the apples, and I look at it, I'm just like, yeah, I kind of miss like, you know, like eating those things, and especially like peanut butter and like carrots. Like those are like the two things that I probably miss the most. But in retrospect, I remember how awful like it made my stomach feel, and I'm just like, yeah, no, there's plenty of other foods that I can eat that don't make me feel like that. So I'm just gonna stick with those, and you know,
Yeah, and that kind of goes into what I was saying is like there's different versions of keto and people do different levels of it. And I have just been terrified to experiment with that
yeah,
because if I tip the scales too much, I put myself into potentially being in like seizure territory, and that's scary. But there's people that have different reasons for doing the ketogenic diet that works for them. Like it's not only seizures. There's
yeah.
tons of other
Well,
conditions that have been linked to a better quality of life on the keto diet.
and there's also different people doing different things for different reasons, regardless. Even people that are joining, like starting to do fitness, it's like, okay, well, there are people that want to get strong. There are people that want to lose weight. There are people that want to gain weight because they're too skinny and they want to put on some muscle mass, there's people that train like I do for, I'm not training for hypertrophy, but I'm training for, advancements in my jujitsu and striking. I'm training more like mobility, flexibility, functional strength, things that'll make me use the muscles that I'm actually using when I'm doing jujitsu or doing MMA. I don't want to become bodybuilder, because that is not good for my specific sport.
So I think what the common thing here is between the two of us and our ability to stick to it so is the community factor. I think that in order to have motivation to make yourself healthy, you have to have some kind of goal, and it has to be a deep goal. It has to be deep rooted. It has to be deep set. It can't just be like,
Some
yeah,
shallow goal.
I wanna have a a huge badonkadonk.
And
Like it
don't
can't just
wait.
be.
Don't wait. Okay? Do not wait until January 1st. That is like
You could
you
take steps today.
you just get it done. The problem, and I get it, like if you have some New Year's resolution, people like a starting point. It's like, well, the starting point should be now, like, and it doesn't have to be. You don't have to go wipe everything out of your fridge, It's just all like, okay, well, maybe I'll just get rid of this bag of chips, and like maybe, or maybe I keep the chips in my in my cupboard, and I go empty out some of those Dr. Peppers. Like the 12
But
pack of
don't
Dr. Peppers. Maybe I empty out like a couple of those cans of Dr. Pepper and be like, I'm only going to have like one today. But the issue, and we see this a lot, especially when it comes to, uh, I've been coaching and training at the dojo for a while now, and the the amount of people that just the shrink, like in terms of people that show up to classes from like November to the end of December, is just massive. We go from having a big old class to having maybe four people, the pillars of the dojo, the people that have been there that don't really miss the classes, that take their training more seriously, I guess. And then in January, you just see this massive uptick because people just want to get healthy. But they only want to get healthy, they dedicate about a month of their lives to trying to get healthy, and they go all in for that first month, and then they burn out. And I think that's one of the issues. It's like,
it's
it
too
even
fast.
yeah, and even if you are gonna wait until the first of like the year to do it, because oh well, Christmas is coming up, and there's gonna be family, and my family drinks Dr. Pepper and all this other nonsense. It's like, okay, well, you don't have to take a part of that. Like, that's fine. But even if you do, like, and you set a goal to start in January on the first of the new year, then start slow. Maybe don't go to the gym 7 days a week. Maybe try to go 2 or 3 times a week to start with, and then just see. And the other thing too is that, like, when you start going to the gym, nobody's there to judge you. I mean, like, you might have your couple goofballs every once in a while, but
For the most part.
most people are there to help you, to encourage you. And you have to find, like, the culture, like the gym culture. Remember, you're paying for the membership, so you might as well find something that you like. And there's problems with going to these super cheap commercial gyms. And I find that, like, actually, because I've trained at, like, those commercial gyms, and that's where you get the most judgment, like I would say, as opposed to the gritty
Judgment free zone.
yeah, exactly. As opposed to, like, the gritty, like, hardcore, the those kinds of gyms. Those are the kinds of gyms that, like, you go to and you find a lot of community support. The smaller gyms, as
Absolutely.
opposed to, like, the big commercial ones. From my experience, I'm not saying that that's everybody's experience, and I'm not knocking any, Planet Fitness or Crunch or whatever. Like, I've worked out there too. The machines are fine, whatever. Um,
As far as building community, though, it's easier to do in the older gyms, like
the
the
smaller,
lifters gyms.
yeah, the rusty, musty, dusty gyms.
Yeah. It's really cool because each one really has its own little culture too.
Yeah, and there's this gym that we go to, and there's this lady there, and we just call her Gym Grandma. She's probably, like, in her 70s, and she's, like, a power lifter, a bodybuilder, and
Yeah,
she's just
she
like,
competes, yeah.
yeah, and she's just like, dude, 70 can look like that, or 70 can look like, you know, you're using a walker and you can't, fall down off the curb. You can't step down off the curb too hard without, like, breaking a foot or breaking a hip. And there are people that have things like osteoarthritis and things like that. But
That's where
the
we were talking about though, you start now. It's like
yeah.
I lift now for my bone density because I don't want to break an ankle when I'm 70.
Yeah, and sometimes, like, maybe there are people that live their whole lives going through, just living and eating well and properly taking care of themselves, and then they just succumb to something, and those aren't the kinds of people that I'm talking about. But if you have the choice to what your 70s and 80s and even 90s are going to look like, why would you not continue to want to be mobile and moving around and being able to do things? And I don't know, there's we talked about it, I believe, in the last podcast, where we might have mentioned it in this one too, but we're talking about, like, fast food. And people will say, like, well, I just want to live and enjoy my life. And it's like, you're gonna enjoy your life, I guess, eating all this, like, nonsense food, but then your last 10 years of life, which are probably going to be shortened because of all this stuff you're putting in your body that's not good, but the last 10 years of your life, you're not going to enjoy the last 10 years of your life. You're going to be in, like, assisted living or in and out of hospitals, and all this stuff. I'd much rather be at home hanging out, laying in my own bed, not having
And
to worry about it.
not having to think about whether or not you can grab something off the top shelf and clean
Yeah.
your own house and take care of things. Like, there are people that look really good and are super mobile up to their 90s.
Yeah, yeah, I know exactly.
So it's about how you take care of yourself and how early you start doing it, because, like, there is no point at time. Oh, what was I gonna say? I was, like, reading at the same time.
Yeah, it's just some bot.
Yeah.
Thanks for the comment, bot. Appreciate
Combat.
it.
Shoot, what was I saying?
I don't remember.
What were you saying?
I
It
got-
might remind me about what I was saying.
I got distracted by that too. We're talking about people and, like, longevity, and
Oh, there's no point in time in which it's too late to start taking care of yourself. Like if you are 65 day,
Yeah.
70 today, there's a good chance that there's like irreversible damage in a lot of people's bodies, and that's really, treat it like an injury, because that's exactly what it is. And anytime that you have an injury, for the most part, you can train around it. Like you have a knee injury, then you spend a lot of time building muscular support around that joint so that it makes your quality of life easier and it puts less stress on the joint. Like the more muscle you have around the joint, the less stress is on the joint itself.
Which,
So there's ways to help.
and which is exactly the kind of program that I'm doing right now that you have me doing, because when I was cutting weight for this last tournament, I was doing 8x8s, which essentially just 8 reps, 8 sets. And
Hardly any rest in between.
yeah, most people are going to take like a 40-second rest in between, 40-second rest, but that was, and I'm not like trying to, talk out of my own ego here, but like just, honestly, that was too long for me. It was too long of a rest. I didn't need it. My endurance is already really high. So I cut it down to like 5 seconds of rest time. And then it just like, it'll shred you. And then now it's like, okay, well, I don't have any competitions or anything coming up. I'm not on any weight cuts. So now the idea is to build strength, but I deal with knee injuries, and particularly joint injuries. And so we're building strength, and because you can't really strengthen the joint, so we're building strength in the area around the knee to stabilize it, and the stabilizing muscles around the knee to protect that. And then I also wanted to just kind of plug what I've been doing lately too, is something called PNF, which is proprioception neural functionality, or neuromuscular functionality.
Yeah.
It's something like that. Proprioceptive neuromuscular functionality. Right? So
I believe.
my understanding of that is that your muscles and like your ligaments will prevent you from, like, let's say you're trying to kick somebody in the head. Your muscles and ligaments, if you don't train them, they're going to stop you, because your body's basically telling you, like, you're gonna hurt yourself. So you have this built-in mechanism that kind of stops you, and so you have to train that mechanism. And a lot of it is because it's the mind-body connection. And so what you do, so I do yoga twice a day. In the morning I'll just do, your standard yoga, whatnot. Like I'll do static poses and I'll kind of breathe into them and stuff like that. But then in the evening time, after my muscles are all warmed up, I come home from the dojo or the gym or whatever, I'll do that PNF method, or I'll do yoga using the PNF method, keeping that in mind. And so essentially, you just get in the pose, and then you resist. You contract the muscles, and then you hold them for like 5 seconds, like 5 to 10 seconds, and then you just release. And it folds you like a lawn chair, more so than just breathing in and breathing out. You breathe in and contract the muscles with the intention to just hold them there, and then when you breathe out, I like to personally, when I breathe in and the muscles are contracted, I hold that breath. So that way when I'm breathing out, like everything just relaxes like automatically. And ever since I started incorporating that particular method into my nighttime yoga training, it has significantly impacted the amount of pain that my knee is in. And it's just it forces your flexibility, but not in a way that hurts you.
It just gives a signal to your brain that it's safe to let go, to lengthen to the full potential.
Exactly. So let's say you're in like a butterfly pose, where you're just sitting on your bottom. If you don't know what a butterfly pose is, you're sitting on your bottom. The soles of your feet are touching together, and then You just like open your legs, and whenever I'm in that pose and I'm doing this PNF method, I will contract my muscles, like tightening up my glutes and like my inner thighs, and then I'll just hold it there, and then I'll keep that breath held in too, and then again I'll just release, and as I release everything, and my knees have never gotten so close to the floor before, like doing that, because it's very intentional. It's not just passive yoga,
Yeah.
you know.
Have you thought about incorporating that into martial arts coaching? Have you thought about running the kids through like a couple of PNF to see? Because I mean, like,
It's
it's high kicks, you know, and stuff like that. So
it
we're talking about
is
like strengthening and uh, helping them with their flexibility and mobility.
it's hard because some of the kids don't have enough control over their own body yet to really be able to isolate the the specific muscles that they're trying to contract.
You might start maybe like with one simple exercise where it's just like a larger muscle group, because the ones that are going
Well,
to be most difficult for people that are just beginning and for kids are probably like isolating small muscle groups to contract. But if there's any that focus on like larger muscle groups where they could contract a lot at once,
yeah.
it might be something to
Well,
start with.
because there's even the I've done it kind of where I've kind of like showed them. It wasn't using like a PNF method, but I would do like a cross-legged sit, and then I would like fold forward, and then I'd be like, watch, like this is how you get a deeper stretch, and then I'd like breathe in, but without contracting any of the muscles, and then I would just like let go, and then I would like crawl my fingertips out a little bit more each time I did that, and like that kind of like, because kids can control their breath, like that's, I think that's step one, is teaching them how to do that first, but they do know it's kind of easy, like, you know, we do this thing where we have the kids lay on their backs, they put their hands under their bottoms, they raise their legs 6 inches above the ground, and then we walk around with like the focus mitts, and then we like hit them in the stomach, and it's going to be a varying degree of impact depending on who the kid is. Obviously, we're not going to go full blast on like the kids that have just started, but then you have kids that are in fight camps, and you're just like, okay, well, they need to get that like toughened up, and those kids have been there for years, so it's like they can handle it. We know what our students can handle, so it's not anything that sometimes, like when you tell people that, like, you know, they'll look at you like, oh my god, like
Aghast.
you're doing that to kids. It's just like, yeah,
It's a foam pad.
well, it is. I mean, it is hard, you know, because Sensei's done it to me when I was in fight camp, and he's done it to me hard, and it
Yeah.
hurt. And some of the kids will like tell you to do it harder. Aiden's
The
one of
little
them.
beasts.
He's just like harder, and then I'm just like, yeah, and like Izzy, and so I'll, you know, we go based off of like what they can handle and what we know is going to be good for them, and also where they're at. Like
Yeah,
if
know
they're
your students.
yeah, if they're in a fight camp, like you gotta push them harder. That's just, they're gonna get hit in the stomach when they're boxing or kickboxing or whatever. So you have to tighten that up. But what it also does though, is it teaches them how to tighten that core, and that's kind of easy to explain to kids, because it's like, well, just it's like you're using the bathroom. Tighten it up like you're using the bathroom. But when you're trying to contract other muscles, it it's difficult to kind of teach that, I think, because like, well, how can I teach you to contract your leg, like your thighs and your like your quads? You know, I can tell you to squeeze, but how do I actually like tell you, like show you how to do it, you know?
So remember how we were familiar with different forms of the PNF?
Yeah.
So the type of PNF that you do is a contraction while you're in the stretched position, right?
Uh-huh.
So an easier version may be to have them do like a forward fold,
Uh-huh.
and then you come back out of the forward fold and you tighten your, you could just tell them, because I mean it's more specifically your quads, but you could tell them to tighten their legs, like squeeze as hard as they can when they come back up, and then you go back down. So you could tell them as if they are preparing for someone to do a leg kick. because
Yeah.
like they know what it feels like to get kicked in the leg, so they know that they tighten up and they contract before they get kicked in the leg. So if you tell them to do that on both sides and have them like squeeze as hard as they can, even if they have to squeeze their fists at the same time, just like,
Yeah.
all right, down, and then 1, 2, 3, squeeze.
Well, and there's certain things that like require, like even what's kind of difficult for me still, like a child's pose, you know, because you are releasing your lower back at the same time, and your lower back is like a really weird muscle to try to contract. Like you really gotta focus
It,
on like where, you know, I don't know, like you can do it with your glutes and it's fairly easy, but like, and then like your upper back, but then it
you
gets to
know
your lower
what?
back and it's like it's kind of difficult.
I remember the exact moment in time when I was training that I was able to consciously contract my erector spinae and lost my mind over it. I was
Yeah,
just like super
it's a
fucking excited. I was just like, I did
it's a
this.
weird thing. I've learned how to do it. I've taught myself how to do it, but it took a lot of focus. I'm just so like, okay, well, I'm tightening everything else, but so there are those kinds of exercises too that it's just it's hard, like you were saying, and that's probably a smaller muscle group, but it's hard to kind of like isolate those as well, especially when you're doing a pose or something that's like real. Um, I don't know, and then you know we have the kids, and you have to just be able to trust that the kids are gonna do it, like and do it
Yeah.
properly, because we have the kids like there's this one exercise we have them do where they're kind of standing with their legs, you know, shoulder width apart or maybe a little bit wider, um, and then they go down and they like touch the floor like 3 times. They go like out, middle, inner, and then they'll come up and they'll hit themselves in the stomach. And in order to do that and it not hurt, you got to tighten your stomach. You know, and it's a good idea to kind of keep your stomach tight when you're fighting anyway, because that's how you're going to absorb the blows. Like you got to know how to tighten that stomach. But you know, you got some of the kids that are like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You know, they're not hitting themselves like as hard as they could, and I think those kids, I don't think they're doing it because they don't want to. I think they don't know how to tighten their stomachs yet.
Yeah.
And of course it's gonna hurt. Like if you just got like you just kind of like let loose and you're tighten up and you punch yourself in the stomach, it's gonna hurt. It's not gonna feel good. But then you tighten it up and then all of a sudden it's like you got this like armor. It's super weird how that works.
It's crazy what doing any kind of training, any kind of physical training, whether it's weight training or martial arts training, because martial arts training gives you this mindset for different reasons at the same time. But when you build a mind muscle connection with yourself, there is a level of fight or flight that you just kind of live in
Yeah.
that lowers. So it's like your body has more confidence in itself when you have a connection with it. When there's a mind muscle connection, and people talk about the connection or the unison between the mind, the body, and the spirit. And I think a huge portion of that is physical. It's being able to contract and loosen muscle groups in isolated ways
Yeah.
and really having a connection with it. And we're talking about longevity and people
Well,
like in their 70s, you know, like the guy that I shadowed to become a trainer, he was like in his later 60s, he's probably in his 70s now. Uh and this guy would show up and just do anything that he possibly could because he loved being in the gym, and that was like his goal, was spreading knowledge. But like he couldn't stay away, he had hernias and stuff, and we'd constantly have to tell him like, hey, you're still recovering, you
yeah.
can't pick that up. But he loved training, and that love for it comes from doing it over and over again and getting like the endorphin rush and the trust that you have in your own body, and like
Well, and it's
that's what
just
you want.
and it feels good to feel good, you know?
It
Like
does.
it's I don't know, I always just feel good and then it feels good to look good. Like as egotistical as that sounds, it's true, you know? Like if you don't look good, you know, if you're walking past the mirror and you're like 400 pounds and you just look at yourself and you're just like, man, I don't look good and I don't feel good, you know? And as opposed to like if you're walking past the mirror and you're just like, man, like I got a good workout in today. I got a good pump. Like my muscles are like they're excited. They're thriving right now.
It's more about being proud of yourself when you
Yeah,
look at yourself. It's like because there's body dysmorphia as well, where it's like you can be working really hard and like the common topic in like the bodybuilding world and the gym rat world is like you're never big enough. It's like you could work out every day of your life and you'll never feel big enough. So there's
yeah.
like dysmorphias or like you'll
Well,
feel like you're overweight when you're actually really not, and like you'll see yourself in that way. But it's about looking at in the mirror and having that image that you're proud of because you worked hard for it.
and we made a video the other day about like people talk about, you know, strength over technique, and it's like, well, you need both. You need strength and you need technique. There are world class champions that don't strength train, and they do fantastic. They're fine. They're good, whatever. That's cool for them. But one of the things that people don't understand is like people think that you just go to the gym to get strong. It's like, yeah, that's one
Or to get
aspect
big
of it.
puffy muscles that look good.
Yeah, but like that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect is you're not just training to get strong. You're training for injury prevention. You're training to improve posture. You're training to like boost confidence. And then you're also, again, if you're fundamentally strength training, then you're training not only for what's good in martial arts, jiu-jitsu, striking, whatever, but even everyday life. Functional strength training is like I can walk up, if I didn't do any martial arts at all or anything like that, I could walk up a flight of stairs and I could be fine. If I have a desk job where I'm just constantly like hurled over, you know, typing and stuff, looking at a screen all day, you know, that destroys posture.
It's called like pattern overload is the term used for that, and it's common in people that have desk jobs. It's common for construction workers because even though they're working really hard, so like people that have laborious jobs,
Yeah.
they're working really hard. They're using their bodies, but it's usually following one singular pattern, and that is imbalanced with the rest of their body. So there might be distortions in like how
Yeah.
their posture is just based on
Well-
muscular overuse.
And also, and I think you touched on this, but that also creates these imbalances. Or you can have like someone like me that was born with imbalances because I had a club foot when I was born and then broke my leg when I was 1. So first year and a half of my life I was in a cast. So my right leg had nothing, in comparison to my left leg, and therefore like there's a lot of imbalance because my left hip and leg and just the entire left side of my body essentially just carries the weight of, you know, whatever we're doing, or whatever I'm doing. And actually, like, we were throwing a combination the other day at the dojo, and we're doing like a switch hook, basically to a front roundhouse kick. And I don't know if you've ever seen the switch hook, but you know, essentially like, okay, so you start in your stance, and then you know how I do that little Muhammad Ali shuffle thing. So essentially, like, you just do that. You do the switch, but you throw the hook at the same time.
Why was I thinking a hook kick?
Oh well,
I was
probably
trying
because
to figure out the logistics of it, and I was
no.
like, how would you do a switch hook? And I was trying to figure out.
well, you could do
It'd
a
have to
switch.
be like an opposite switch.
Not
kinda.
really. You could do a switch hook kick.
Okay, I could see it.
I mean, you can do a switch
I mean,
roundhouse
it's
kick or
fair,
a
'cause,
switch
I mean, you
axe
do-
kick or anything like that. You could do a switch hook kick.
I just think about because like anything that's going on the inside is going to be easier to do that with than it's almost like thinking about doing a switch spinning back kick to me because the hook is coming from the outside.
Yeah, but you just come in on the opposite side of their face.
Yeah.
So like I do like back leg hook kicks a lot because my stance is orthodox, and my right leg, I have a better hook kick with my right leg than I do my left leg, so I just bring it up and around and throw the hook kick.
It could be because like when I think about doing a hook kick, it's always from the front leg.
Yeah, no,
It's
and
just
but
the
you
it's
also
just
have
the taekwondo background.
well, and you also have a bladed stance. Well, I mean, it's less bladed now, but the taekwondo stance traditionally is going to be bladed, which means it's going to be hard to bring that back leg all the way around without someone being able to really see it. You know, so that makes sense. You're already kind of in the position to throw that hook kick with your front leg, but when you're in more of like a narrower stance, like you can kind of bring that back leg up and then a hook.
I think
that
I'm gonna
way.
have to physically do it.
Yeah, but either way, so we're doing a switch hook, and then following it through with a roundhouse kick, but the I was landing in I was landing kind of wide because I needed to be able to throw that roundhouse kick, and Sensei's like, he came up, he's all try not to land so wide, try to land a little bit more narrow, and then I was like letting him know, I was like the only reason I'm landing that way is because I cannot pivot on this foot. So if I was doing it from the opposite stance, if I was doing it from a southpaw stance, it wouldn't be a big deal, and I would land more narrow because I can pivot on my left foot because I can actually get on the balls of my toes. But on my right foot, I can't. So I have to land in that pivot already in order to be able. Otherwise, like my foot will go, but my knee will stay straight, or my knee will stay straight, but my foot will go, and that's a good way to tear a meniscus. So I have to just kind of like alter, and I just have to land in that particular stance to be able to do it. And as a matter of fact, you know what? I do like doing. Then you brought it up. I do like doing switch hook kicks, but with like it would be technically the front leg after you switch. So say I'm in my orthodox stance.
Oh, so you switch and then
Switch. Bow.
yeah. Okay. See, that makes
I like
sense.
doing those.
That makes sense in my head
Those are
more
fun.
so.
Well, and it just makes sense to me because, I don't know, it's kind of weird. I got this weird style because 80% of the time, I train orthodox. But then 80% of the time when I'm sparring southpaw. So it's like super weird and I don't quite understand it, but that's just how it goes. But yeah, it's I don't remember what even got us on that topic. Luna's back for more. Can't see her
She's out of frame.
in
She's here.
either of the videos. Oh, there she is. Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't remember what we were even talking about
What brought us to that?
before we got here. Yeah, we were talking about strength training and oh yeah, we're talking about like muscular imbalances. So that's another thing that that you train when you're doing strength training, or you can at least target it. You can at least focus on it, which is one of the things that you have me doing right now as well.
So, and there's a few really common postural deformities, and I mean like super common,
Like scoliosis and stuff.
less severe than that. These are just postural imbalances that are really common in the population. One of them is called lower cross syndrome, and that's where you're going to see an exaggerated lumbar curve.
Okay.
So it's an anterior pelvic tilt, essentially. So your pelvis is supposed to be in a neutral position, and it'll be tilted forward.
So does that mean your back, because your lumbar
So I actually
is
technically
like
have this.
back in the back, right? Yeah.
So the tilt, my natural position, which is why I have instability in the lower back. My natural tilt is forward, and it should be about here. You don't want this. This is like too far in, and it's more of a posterior tilt. You want to have a neutral position. So I'm not sure if you can see it on this side. Probably better than you can in this video. But it actually makes women feel like they're carrying more weight in the pelvic area, but it's actually just the fact that their pelvis is tilted, and you should be about here instead of here. So what's actually happening with that, and mine's corrected a lot over the years, is just it comes back when I go through a period of time where I'm not weightlifting, and I haven't because
Yeah.
of like all the seizures that I was dealing with. So, what's causing that is tightness in certain areas and not enough strength in others. So I need to build up lower back and glute strength so that the lumbar is actually being held in place by the muscles that are there.
Uh-huh.
So that means I have a weak lower back and a weaker glute system. And then the lumbopelvic hip system, which is in the front, and the adductors, which are the muscles on the inside of your thighs, are going to be tight.
Okay.
So those are the ones that I have to work on. More flexibility, more range of motion is going to be in my hips
Yeah.
and like the adductors. And then a lot of the strength is going to have to be focused in my glutes and my lower back.
See, and mine is like I have strong hips, but they're not very flexible. Like they're not very, like the mobility could be better. I still have to kind of like lean back pretty far if I'm gonna kick somebody in the head, as opposed to just being able to kind of balance. And I mean, the good news about that is it gets me out of punch range, but the bad news is it off balances me. So if someone timed it and wanted to like take me down, it'd be
Easy to
it'd
do
be easier
so.
for them. The good news is though too is that like um I'm never gonna throw a head kick in a street fight. If it ever came down to like self defense, I would chop the leg. Cause like yeah, that's way too risky in my opinion. Like maybe I mean it just depends on your confidence. But if I'm going to defend myself and I have to throw punches and kicks to defend myself, I'm not going for the head or even the body. Too easy to catch. I will chop the leg because, you know, if they can't run after you, okay, cool. I'll chop the leg and I'll get out of there. But it's way too easy for someone to catch a body kick. It's way too easy for you to try to throw a head kick and slip or something. Like that's happened, and a lot of people like if you don't train, a lot of people that are going to get into fights like on the street are going to be untrained people. And man, you give that leg a couple good shots. Even someone that looks like me, that like I go to the gym, I look at my chicken legs like in the I'll have shorts on or whatever, and then I'll look at my legs in the mirror. I'm just like, I don't like my leg. It doesn't look threatening at all. Like it looks like you could take my right leg and just crack it and break it like a twig. But if I kick somebody in the leg that is untrained, then it's going to not be good for them. It's going to hurt. And the other thing that I do, which is kind of funny, because I have this like disability and I can't, I don't have a lot of flexibility in that foot, so I can't really planar flex like that well. And when I do try to, like my toes kind of curl in and like kind of make a fist instead. So when I go to throw the kick, I'll kick them like with the knuckle of my toe. And
People get so annoyed over it.
yeah, I know, it's great, right? It's been brought up in when I was sparring, like one time, like my sparring partner was just all like, "Are you kicking me with the knuckle?" And I was just all like, "Yeah," and he's just all like, "I was wondering because that like hurts." You know, one of my other favorite things to do is, and it's kind of like a jerk move, so I don't do it hard on people. Is a hook kick to the inner thigh.
It's just annoying. You've done it to me before.
It would actually hurt though if you went and like tried to full blast it though.
You know what's funny? It's like the most recent video that you sent me to post on TikTok.
The
The
question mark
tutorial.
kick?
Yeah. So I didn't even go look at what your caption was on Instagram. I just made one up this time.
Was it the same thing?
No, it was. I still haven't gone and looked at what your caption was on Instagram, but this time I was like, I like put my name at the end, dash Hannah, so because I like put my own commentary on about how you like get everyone with this and sparring and how annoying it is.
Oh,
But
I love it.
to circle back, you were talking about how in like a street fight situation, if you were getting attacked, that you wouldn't use your legs. But I think that there's distinct differences, or that you wouldn't.
I wouldn't throw a
You
head
wouldn't
kick
throw a head kick.
or body
You wouldn't
kick.
do that wouldn't be your first instinct.
Yeah.
But I think it comes down to like one, what you're used to training and like what skills you have. And then another one is like the differences in the sexes. So for women, all of our power is in the trunk of our body.
Uh-huh.
It's like from the hips down, that is where a woman's power comes from. If someone were up on me, I think it would be instinctual for me.
Is
A
it?
lot of time on our feet taking care of those children. Like women were more likely, more women were going to be the gatherers, the hikers. We just had to have strong, powerful legs. It's an evolutionary thing. So women have power in the legs, whereas men have a little bit more power in their upper body based on genetically what you guys have had to do.
Yeah.
I guess from an anthropological standpoint, it's what men had to do in society versus what women's roles were. And biologically speaking, just the fact that they would like carry and take care of children more so. So in a self-defense standpoint, like it's actually more recommended for women to use that strength. And like especially if women are being attacked and they've got heels on, can you imagine getting a push kick to the body, the chest, or like up in the chin with a heel?
I can, but like you wouldn't. Would that be your first instinct though, or would you want to just like drive that heel, just like knee stomp them, and like drive that knee directly into like
I
the knee
wouldn't, I
and
really wouldn't think about kicking the legs. It really wouldn't be.
see,
'Cause
my issue is that like body kicks are really easy to catch, and if you get caught, and leg kicks are harder to catch, especially if you disguise them, because a lot of times even whenever you're first training, like your first instinct isn't to pick up and check the kick. Your first instinct is to grab the kick, and it works. You know, like it's very good and it's very effective. But even to the untrained person, like you would think that that would be their first instinct is to try to catch. And then if you're kicking them in the calf or like the leg, like that's gonna be more difficult. So I see what you're saying, but for me, the only reason why that is sketchy is just because of the ease of the ability to catch the kick and then take you like down to the ground. And that's
Well,
not just for women, like that's for anybody, you know.
well, you have to think about the genuine size difference in like public situations. If a man's being attacked, you're getting attacked by another man. If a woman's being attacked, she's getting attacked by a man. And so like the idea of betting on my leg kick being enough to take him down for me to get away, I'm not betting on that personally. But I would bet on like I would probably go for the most sensitive areas in a like a true I'm getting attacked self-defense situation. I'm probably not going to be in distance to kick somebody with a push kick unless I can manage to use it to get myself out of someone's like reach.
Yeah.
But if I'm in close proximity, my elbow's going to be flying into someone's temple. My palm's going to be driving up someone's nose. I'm going for throat shots. I'm going for genital shots. Like, it's going to be
So-
more of those situations, honestly.
What if you got attacked by another woman though?
If I got attacked by another, like genuinely attacked
'Cause
by
women
another
attack
woman,
other women too.
it's not like if I'm walking down the street at night by myself, I'm genuinely not going to be concerned about whether or not a woman's going to try to attack me because men have more reason to attack women than women do. Like women have if a woman is going to attack me, it's because she has a personal issue. 9 times out of 10, she's not trying to rob me. She's not trying to sexually offend me, or attack me in that way. She's probably got some kind of personal grievance. Like I ticked her off somehow. You know, like women on women violence is usually personal. Whereas like if I'm getting attacked by a random person, it's usually going to be because like there's a dude that's trying to either kidnap or rape me. Like those are the most common circumstances for women to get attacked. So that's what I'm thinking about the most when it comes to being attacked. But if for some reason it happens, women have plenty of sensitive areas too. you know, and like
Well, I know,
it's
but
the situation of just trying to get out.
would your game plan change though? So it's like you're talking about if you're defending yourself against a guy that tried to chop the legs. If you were defending yourself against a woman, would that change? And like regardless of whether she's like why she's attacking you or why the man is attacking you, let's just say that like it's let's just say it's just a robbery, right? Let's say a man's attacking you because he wants your purse, and then in the same scenario, but in maybe like a different timeline, right? A woman is attacking you because she wants your purse. So like, would your defense be the same or would you alter it? Because for me, like it would be either or. If I was getting attacked by a woman, like, well, I don't know, and that also depends on what she's coming at me with. If she's got like a knife or a baseball bat, I probably will try to front kick her, you know, and like and just
It's the distance.
and get away, you know, because that is like a good kick. But if it was let's just say there's no weapons involved, if it was just a fist fight, and you couldn't really like get away and you had to defend yourself, you know, somehow, but you had to throw punches or kicks, right? And you know, the woman or the man, I wouldn't change my game plan. I would chop the legs of the woman or the man regardless of who I'm getting attacked
You're
by.
kicking in knees and stuff.
As long as there's no weapon. If a dude or a girl is coming at me, because if they have like a knife, then they already have one hand that they cannot catch my kick with. So my problem is like if it's a fist fight and I throw, and I talk about this from experience too, kind of, because I don't have any experience with like street fighting, but just from sparring, and these of course are people that train, but I get kicks caught a lot more when I go for body kicks or head kicks, or at least evaded or slip or whatever, than I do if I'm just chopping a leg down, and I can land leg chops a lot more because they're quick, they're easy to disguise, and people sometimes just don't react quick enough. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of that. But regardless of when I'm sparring girls or guys, regardless of their skill level, a lot of time like I'm going for leg kicks a lot more so
Yeah.
than
Well, and I wouldn't change how I spar one versus the other. I mean, other than just like sheer height differences.
yeah.
Because like you're way taller than any of the girls that I've sparred at the dojo.
So when it comes to like an attack, like if it was a street attack or something, you would still just go for.
I'm
I
still
mean,
going
number
for.
one is the sensitive areas.
I'm going for the cheap shots if I'm getting attacked, because like I would never get into a fight for any personal reasons.
Well,
if I'm
yeah.
in a fight, it's because I'm fighting for my life. So with that in mind,
And there's no rules. Like, you can eye gouge and you can bite and you can do all kinds of stuff.
yeah, I just know that one of the most powerful things that I have is my elbow, and that elbow is gonna be hit because that's something that you can use in close proximity. If somebody has you,
Well, yeah, the elbow is a dangerous weapon.
but if not, I'm using if at all possible, I'm keeping myself out of that situation. That's what a push kick's for, is to get you away from your opponent so I can just duck and run, you know?
Yeah.
I'm getting out of there.
Yeah, no, I guess like my only thing, and I guess the whole reason why I would go for the legs, I mean, there's a whole bunch of scenarios we could come up with, but if it was just a fist fight, and I was trying to like just some dude was just like coming after me, trying to attack me, trying to start some fight or whatever, like I'm not gonna try to punch because like that's not my first go-to. Like I'll still try to punch if I have to or whatnot, right? But that's not gonna be like my go-to, and I'm not gonna try to throw any like body kicks or anything like flashy. Like what I'm gonna do, in that scenario would be to fake a couple punches to get the guy to guard up and then blast the leg, and then get out of there.
And see, I would just like consider think about like you're going up against a grizzly bear. And so this is just my argument for like an opponent that would be considerably larger than me. Like even somebody that's just taller than me, like your size. Cuz I mean, like you're not like massive, you're not 200 pounds or anything like that, but just like imagine somebody that is 6 foot and like 250 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going up against a grizzly bear, I'm not going to use a BB gun because it's going to really piss off that grizzly bear. So, in my mind, a leg kick from me into somebody that looks like that, it might be like a BB shot in a grizzly bear. And maybe that's just because I don't have leg kick experience. I didn't like do a whole lot of leg kicks
Yeah.
in my experience in Taekwondo. That's like a newer concept for me. So it's
Well,
not a comfortable area for me.
and then the other reason, and I guess we can end on this, uh, is that from an immobilization standpoint, you know, like yeah, you go for sensitive areas, you can like kick them in the genitals. They might still run after you. That might really piss them off, and then they might run after you even more so than just kick like smashing them in the leg. But if you do like a really good leg kick on a non-trained person or a 2 or 3 on a trained person, like it can immobilize them. So like it might mess them up or it might make them mad. But if they can't run after you afterwards, because like you, and that's my argument is that like if you throw a push kick, like yes you might get them away for a second, but they can still run after you. You know, if you chop the leg and they just like they're trying to like run after you and I mean you have to know how to throw a kick. Well, obviously you do, but like you know you would have to know how to throw a kick in order for it to be effective to immobilize that attacker and get them to not come after you. So that's another standpoint I guess that I would take is
Yeah.
the immobilization
It's
standpoint as well.
It's just whether or not I'd feel comfortable in the moment with being able to immobilize them because, like, if you're not confident, and this is where it comes down to, like, we've talked about this before, you can't just take one self defense course.
Hello.
Hi there. Thanks for joining us.
I know we're
Megalockin.
we're about to end the cast,
Hearing
unfortunately,
Yeah.
but we appreciate you for tuning in.
Yeah, welcome. But you can't just take one self defense course. Well, give us a follow. We try to do a podcast every Sunday. We might not make it next Sunday, but we'll probably tune in on Monday instead.
Yeah, like
Just the holiday type stuff is going on.
Yeah, so not tomorrow Monday, but the following Monday.
Yeah.
But, you know, obviously feel free to go back and watch the episode too. We've been talking about ketogenic diets and things like that. And right now we're just kind of throwing a little imaginary self-defense scenario and see how I would respond differently and then how you would respond.
So, like, ask me in a year. You know, after I've been training MMA versus.
Hello.
Oh wow! Hi.
Hello.
Hi everybody.
How's it going?
Welcome. That's so cool. But yeah, you can't just take one self-defense class, you know, and then feel confident. So, like, I'm not super confident with leg kicks, and my roundhouse kicks are still, I'm still learning how to throw more of a Muay Thai power kick than just a quick Taekwondo whip, because my Taekwondo whip kick isn't going to immobilize anybody.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I was talking about too. Is there's a certain level of confidence that you have to have in what you want to do, and that's why I was just like, well, I don't have a lot of confidence that like, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like I have confidence that I could kick somebody and my kick could not get caught, but I would rather not risk it if I'm in a life or death situation, and someone is like really trying to attack me, and I know that I could just like throw a couple feints, get them to shell up, get them to forget about their leg, and just smash a leg kick in there, and then just book it. I feel like I would have more success, but I've also, like you said, we've been training different sports, different types of martial arts, and so, you know, you trained historically for the whip and the snap and the quickness, and mine was a little bit more for the power aspect of it and just really blasting through someone. Yeah, so we do. So I always preferred learning more jiu-jitsu than taekwondo for self-defense. Historically speaking, so if this is your first time tuning in, Hannah is a taekwondo black belt, and both things have their place in time for self-defense, in my opinion. Jiu-jitsu is one of those things where, like, it's good to know, because you're gonna, sometimes you might end up on the ground and you're in a very vulnerable position. You have to know how to defend yourself from that specific position, but every fight usually starts on the feet. So if you can be quick with your kicks and your punches and all that stuff, and then you can just get out of there, that's probably a better idea, because you don't want to go to the ground with somebody, like, but if it happens to get taken there, then you want to know how to defend yourself.
Well, and in all honesty, so I grew up in Taekwondo. It wasn't more of a recent thing. It was like I started when I was 4. I stopped around the time that I was 18. I took some years off and did more strength training type stuff for a long time after I had my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
But the style of Taekwondo that I did was more Tang Sudo, but our Dojang really focused on things like Krav Maga and self-defense on top of doing like the Tang Sudo style. So I think that's where a lot of my instinct, if I were getting attacked, would be to throw a lot of elbows. And that's where that comes from. We did a lot of that style of self-defense training. We did a lot of self-defense seminars, like anti-kidnapping style seminars with the kids and stuff like that. But now that I have stepped onto the mat with you, and I've done more of like the MMA and the jiu-jitsu, and I'm still in the beginning baby phases of that, I see a difference. I see the place that might have.
I have never been in a real life self-defense situation. I I got in a fight when I was in 9th grade, but that was a pre-planned fight. Me and this other kid fought in the bathroom. That was long before I practiced any martial arts. Otherwise, I would have. I can't see that.
It's like an emoji. It's like ha ha ha.
Oh, okay, nice. So yeah, I ended up. If I would have trained martial arts before getting into that fight, I definitely wouldn't have gotten into that fight. I would have realized how idiotic of a decision that was. Me and this kid decided that we were just going to meet up in the bathroom in our PE walking class, and then we decided to fight each other. Nice.
Yeah, ew, right? You're like on the bathroom floor.
Well, see, okay, and it's funny too, because this fight was in the bathroom. I ended up getting knocked down. The kid, because I didn't know any jiu-jitsu or anything, so I was just crawling around. The kid ended up getting on my back, and he was just throwing blows to the back of my head, and he ended up breaking his knuckle. I promise you, this is a true story. He ended up breaking his knuckle on the back of my head. Like, my head's so freaking hard, and his middle knuckle basically got pushed to the middle of his hand, and yeah, he ended up I lost the battle, but like, man, apparently I won the war.
With your hard head.
With my hard head. All I had was like a goose egg, I was probably mildly concussed, whatever, but that was the only thing that happened. I don't like drama. I don't like, yeah, I used to drink a lot of milk when I was a kid.
Could have been in one of those Got Milk commercials.
I know. I'm like, no, it's really good for you. But like, I've never been myself personally in a self-defense situation, and it's because I try to avoid drama, and I try to just walk away whenever it presents itself. I try to avoid the fight at all costs, which is the number one rule that we have in our dojo that we actually teach the kids as well. And it's just like, and like you were saying about the bathroom, it's like, yeah, okay, the person used the De La Riva guard in the bathroom, and for self defense is what I'm assuming. And if that's the case, then that kind of just highlights what I was saying about if you end up on the ground, it's a good idea to know at least the basics and the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu. So you can either, if you're on the ground defending yourself, you can either get your opponent off of you, or you can get them in some kind of hold where you don't like you're just controlling them and not necessarily like trying to choke them to sleep or trying to break their arm, but you could if you needed to. And I think that's also really important for a lot of police officers to train in jiu-jitsu as well, because it's
Yeah.
really about de-escalating situations. You can hold people in specific holds, to get them to kind of like cooperate a little bit easier.
Well, and see, our son has been in one of those situations where he has had to control somebody.
Yeah, and now him and the kid are best friends.
Mm-hmm.
He had to.
He didn't choose violence. He didn't choose to like get into a fist fight with him.
No, he
He
double
just-
leg take. He did a double leg takedown and just held him there, and it was just like, dude, are you gonna stop? He's like, yeah, and he's just like, okay, got off of him, helped him back up, and now they're best friends.
Now they're homies.
They
yeah.
gave each other Christmas gifts this year. That just happened
That's
like
so cute.
that just happened like last year.
Boys.
So it's yeah, no, it is like, again, it's if you follow the philosophy of Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do, the entire idea behind it is to create is to just basically get take what is useful for you and then just kind of like throw away the rest of the stuff that's not useful for you, basically. So it is kind of a good idea to study like all of the different types of martial arts, because you can take something from every single type of martial art and you can just apply it to what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So what I have in mind is like in a drama rush, the person might just charge at you and take you down rather than composing himself and throw jabs and kicks. And yeah, a lot of times, honestly, from what I've seen, is people don't generally go for takedowns when they're attacking you. They go for the haymakers. They go for the wild punches that are, I mean, if you're trained, either you can see them from an easier or from a mile away.
This is actually a really good point. The more I train, the less I seek out violence. I got it out of my system. So there's actually been studies, and I'd have to find them to link them, but there's been studies that talk about how men in particular, and I feel like this has to be true to some degree for women too, but for men in particular, it reduces the amount of violence in men and helps them stabilize their emotions when they train combat sports of some kind. It's really healthy. And I mean, it makes biological sense. A lot of times, like, the men were warriors, and there's more and more research that has shown, anthropologically speaking, more and more research has shown that women were also capable of being hunters and warriors. But you have a certain standard. The male physique was more built for hunting and for fighting, for being warriors.
Took my
So
seat.
there's, yeah, Luna took your seat. So there's some degree
Yep.
of violence that the male mind is going to be drawn to. So it's like, it's controlled violence. Come on, Luna. It's controlled violence,
Thank you.
and it makes men more peaceful, it's shown, to have them in combat sports. But is it about time to close out? I think we've gone over our...
Well, no, that's okay. I like the fact that we actually got some people on. This is
engagement.
like our 5th podcast, I think, and we haven't had anybody actually join the chat. So it's been cool to have some people to talk to be honest with you. So
It's been great, yeah.
we definitely appreciate you guys coming in and checking things out, and hopefully you come back and have some more combos. We try to do this once a week on Sunday, preferably, but we might do Monday next week, not tomorrow, but the week after, or the Monday after, just because Sunday might be a little chaotic. We have a blended family and we have to travel to take our kids to the other parents' houses and stuff like that. So, but we'll check in on this last comment real quick. I also think some people just need some community. I don't think community is there for everyone, and yeah, that's also true. And we were talking about that. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We were talking about that. We also have, so for those on the chat that might be interested, thank you, you as well. We also have, we run a homestead, and we have a homesteading podcast called Seed to Sprout Homestead and Health. And we also shoot that podcast live on Sundays as well. And the thing is, and then Hannah's typing it in right now in the chat, but we talk about community, or we talked about community in that podcast, because in order to run a homestead, it's a good idea to have the kind of people that you can run the homestead with. It'd be really hard for not impossible, but really hard for one person to do everything that's necessary to keep a homestead running. And I do think community is good, and that's why personally I'm not a huge fan of like the big commercial dojos, the guys that just sit back and collect the paychecks and and that's it. They don't really, it's more like an extra PE class than it is kind of like the Mick dojos, I guess.
Mick dojos.
The dojo that I train at and that I coach at is very family oriented, small town dojo. Guy's been doing it for 30 years. He started off just hitting mitts with people in the park, and then he put all of everything he had into the dojo, and he had a bunch of support from his wife, and it turned into the thing that it is now. And it is it's actually pretty awesome. Yeah. And the last we don't have like a whole lot of active fighters. A lot of the kids do jiu-jitsu a lot. I personally do jiu-jitsu in terms of competition. I train everything, but I train like the full spectrum of MMA, but in terms of competition, I do jiu-jitsu more. Like I prefer jiu-jitsu more than anything else. But there are kids that are doing Muay Thai, they're doing boxing. A lot of the kids do jiu-jitsu.
Our kids do the jiu-jitsu competitions.
Yeah, and we try to emphasize jiu-jitsu in that kind of scenario, because especially for the kids, because of course when you're in school, if you punch or kick a bully, that's the fourth rule that we have in our dojo is never punch or kick the bully. But obviously, unless it's absolutely necessary. If you're getting attacked by like 3 or 4 people, you might have to punch or kick, but if you're getting attacked by one person, take them down, hold them down, wait for the lunch monitor to come, and let them know, like, hey, this person is attacking me, and I'm holding them here, but I'm not hurting them. Because also, too, like, especially in a self-defense situation, like on the street, if like you're an adult or something, if I got into a fight with somebody and I hit them and I knock them out and they fall backwards, smash their head on the concrete, and end up dying because of it, like I would get some kind of manslaughter charge. So
the laws
not a good idea.
The laws get a little sketchy even when it comes to self-defense. If you accidentally like murder the person that was attacking you, it's a little messed up.
And it depends on where you live too. Like you have like your stand your ground states and stuff, and even those laws are kind of murky. But the best thing to do is just to avoid the fight if you can. And sometimes if you're caught in the situation where you can't really avoid the fight, then you have to know how to de-escalate, and you have to know how to survive. And for the most part, like I'm kicking someone and I'm running away. And if that's not an option, then I'm just gonna have to fight them, and that's fine. And if the fight ends up going to the ground, then I have enough confidence in my jiu-jitsu that I would be able to at least put the guy to sleep and then run away.
Which is like what we were talking about earlier, like as like the kids being it being necessary for them to learn because they're smaller. Like women, it's the same thing. We're talking about how if a woman's getting attacked, most of the time it's not by another woman. Most of the time a woman's being attacked, it's going to be by a man. And that's usually an uneven match when it comes to size and strength. And jiu-jitsu is one of those things. Like you do, you're going to need to be able to control someone else's weight.
And yes, I would. It depends on how you get into the position that you're in. Like if I'm already locked into like a good armbar position, I'm not gonna give that up to go for a choke if I happen to get locked into that submission in like a self defense scenario, because I have a good enough armbar positioning where I can subdue the guy, I can hold him there, or I could, I can hyperextend his elbow, I can snap his arm if I really needed to. I would prefer to go for chokes if that was the case. In any case, I would prefer chokes over joint submissions, but just like in competition, if I get into an armbar position and I have the opportunity to finish that armbar, I'm not going to give that up to go for a different submission. So, yeah, if I had to choose, I would definitely probably go for chokes, because you can still, like, I could break someone's arm and they could still get me off of them and then chase after me. If they're asleep, they can't do that. So, it's easier to put them to sleep, I think. It's a lot easier to put someone to sleep than to break a bone, for sure, as well. So, yeah, but anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for the chat. It was awesome. And, try to tune in next week if you can. Monday we're going to shoot for.
Yeah, and happy holidays. Have a good Christmas week.
Yeah, don't get in any self-defense situations if you can avoid it. All right, peace.
Peace.